On April 7th, 1969, the Dodgers' Bill Singer gets credited for something no one has ever done before in a game facing off against the Reds. He becomes the very first person to record a save in a Major League Baseball game. Before this, relievers were often forgot about and never given their due. And with this one stat change, it has led relief pitchers and closers to be able to make millions of dollars and revolutionize the game and become MVPs and Cy Young winners due to this one stat that was created to give relief pitchers their due. Today we're going to dive into the background behind this game and how relief pitchers came to be. Today on Daily Sports History.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you want to get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to Daily Sports History. I'm Ethan Reese, your guide, as you daily learn more about sports history, increasing your sports knowledge as we dive into the statistic of the save. And today's trivia question to listen out for is, how many saves did Bill Singer have during his career? Listen throughout the episode to hear the answer, and if you miss it, I will give it to you at the very end. So we got to go back to when baseball first started and how the game was played. Usually you had 9 players, so whoever you had playing on the field was your team, and whoever started at pitching usually finished the game. That's why Cy Young's records are way up there, because he pitched the entire games, and he won most of those games, but he would pitch 2-3 times the amount of games that pitchers would pitch today, and he pitched the entire game. Relief pitchers wasn't very common unless a player got injured. And the very first time that we saw a relief pitcher was in 1876 when the Red Caps outfielder Jack Manning replaced pitcher Joe Borden mid-game due to injury. And in 1889, a rule change allowed substitution anytime, paving the way for pitchers to be more specialized in a relief role, but it didn't happen rapidly. It wasn't something that took the world by storm. It was something that happened gradually as teams began to realize a fresh pitcher could be more successful than a pitcher that had been pitching all game long. And the first true reliever was Firpo Marbury of the Washington Senators back in the 1920s and 30s, and he appeared in 551 games, and 364 of those were in relief, being used to nail down victories, which was an early term to what would be called a save. He would come in to relieve pitchers that were tiring, their arm was wearing down, their speed was slowing down, and he'd come in to finish them off, much like we have today with closers. And then after World War II, full-time relievers became more common because it showed that it could be helpful. And players could be more focused on relief pitching and focus on more singular pitches. There are pitchers that focus on just knuckleballs and forkballs and be more specialized. And this specialization led to a lot of good things. And in the 1970s and 80s, pitchers like Rollie Fingers came about, who earned a Cy Young and an MVP in 1981 due to his dominance as a closer. And then Bruce Sutter showed that relief pitchers could master just one pitch, as he had the split finger fastball that he mastered. He dominated with pitchers, and that showed possible as a closer, you only needed one pitch instead of having multiple pitches to have control over. And in the late 80s, Oakland Athletics manager Tony La Russa redefined how bullpen strategy was used, and Dennis Eckersley would begin to become in the 9th inning and be a closer for them, what's more known as a closer today, coming into the 8th or 9th inning to finish out the game with clean bases, and he could work minimally so he could pitch more games. And he recorded a record 0.61 ERA in 1990. And he also, like Rollie Fingers, won the Cy Young and MVP in 1992, setting a record for the lowest ERA and had 51 saves that year. And we covered previously on an episode Mariano Rivera, who really had also one of those specialized pitches, the cutter fastball, and he used that fastball to become the all-time save leaders in MLB history. But how did this stat come about? Well, it all started in the 1950s. So there was a Chicago sports writer, Jerome Holtzman, who conceived of a stat called the save in 1959 after he observed that relief pitchers were being undervalued. For example, the Pittsburgh Pirates had reliever Roy Face, who had an 18-1 ERA in 1959, but that didn't show the instances where he allowed crucial runs that ended up losing the game. But his record looked like he was a good pitcher, but he wasn't a good relief pitcher for all the games he allowed to lose. So Holtzman put together a formula aiming to recognize relievers who preserved leads effectively and provided a fair metric on their impact to the game. Now, he devised this, but it took 10 years before MLB used it in the modern pitching world. And this followed the year of the pitcher in 1968, where Bob Gibson and Denny McLain broke records for pitching, and this was part of their overhaul, and this also allowed relief pitchers to earn save and allowed them to have a stat so they could show their value. Now, this showed kind of the more of the analytic side of baseball that was coming for the future. Nowadays, analytics in baseball is almost too much. We know so much about the game that it's almost robotic now. But baseball is one of those sports where statistics is so important, and the fact that the save was introduced really changed the game. It allowed pitchers to not view being a relief pitcher as a demotion, but it gave them an avenue to have more success. There are pitchers that are just naturally born to have a rubber arm and can pitch over and over long innings with no issues. But there are other pitchers that can do really good in an inning or two and go pitch back-to-back days. Every person is different. And because of that, this allows people to be more specialized. So we come to the Dodgers playing the Reds in the opening of 1969 season. The Dodgers had finished fourth the year before with a strong pitching staff that had a 3.08 ERA and finished fourth in strikeouts that previous year as they headed into opening day. Now, the game was played in Cincinnati to a sellout crowd, where Cincinnati has a long-standing tradition where they host the first game of the MLB season dating back to 1876. So this was the very first game of the year, and the game got off to a rocky start for the Dodgers. Great start for the Reds. Where in the bottom of the first inning, they gave up back-to-back home runs to Pete Rose and Bobby Tolan. Though in the second inning, the Dodgers would come back to score a run, and in the third, the Dodgers would take over the lead 3-2. Now, previously before the game, Dodgers manager Walt Alston informed Bill Singer that he might need him in a relief duty, and Singer agreed without hesitation. Despite normally a starting pitcher, it was opening day, and they wanted to start the season on a high note. So in the bottom of the seventh, Singer finally came in with that 3-2 lead that they had gotten in the third inning, and Singer pitched 3 scoreless innings, striking out 2 batters and allowing no walks. He retired 9 consecutive batters to close out the game, giving them the win 3-2. The victory went to Don Drysdale, who started the game and pitched until the 7th inning, but the save went to Bill Singer. And this was the first time any player had gotten a recorded save. And remarkably, Singer didn't even realize he made history. At the time, he was focused on helping his team win and preparing for his first start 5 days later. So he didn't save any memorabilia from that day. No ball, no scorecard. As the rule was so new and the changes that they had previously made to lower the mound was so much more bigger to the pitchers rather than this save stat, it was a huge moment that he just didn't realize. And many people didn't even realize it. As the stat was new when they saw it, people would see an S in the box score and be like, S, what does that even mean? Everyone was kind of learning as they went. And for 24 hours, Singer held the record for the most saves recorded all time, but he was tied by other pitchers the following day. And Bill Singer had emerged as a standout pitcher. He led the team with the best ERA of 2.34 and had a team tying 20 wins. But Bill ended up being kind of a journeyman pitcher. He did have 2 seasons where he won 20 games and 4 seasons where he had an ERA below 3. And he didn't go on to become a relief pitcher or a closer, really. Ended up having 24 saves in his career. And he ended up winning 118 games for his career with an ERA of 3.39. He did make one All-Star game, but probably his most memorable thing he did during his baseball career was recording the very first save in MLB history. And even though he's often forgotten about, he did have that one moment in sports history that we can always remember him by. I want to thank you for listening to today's Daily Sports History. And if you really like the show, give us a review and tell us who your favorite closer is in MLB history. And come back tomorrow for more Daily Sports History. And did you catch the answer to today's trivia question? How many saves did Bill Singer have during his entire career? And the answer is 24, as he got the first save, but he wasn't really a closer.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.